right. Thank you for tuning in. And we're so glad that you got a chance to be with us today to have seen this wonderful, wonderful film, How It Feels to Be Free series that played last year on PBS, American Masters. But Yap Films was so generous and so gracious enough to partner with us for we could present it again during the special showing for Women's History Month. So we are very fortunate, very, very fortunate to bring on one of the producers as well as the director of How It Feels to Be Free. And I'm going to bring you all on. We have Yoruba Richin and we have Elizabeth Trozen. Okay, let me bring you all in to the stream. Hey, ladies. How are you all today?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
thank you. Thank you. This has been a treat. This is one of those films that you're just like, yeah. I mean, all the way through it because just the trailblazing, pioneering, talented, creative women that were chosen, and to really kind of go into their lives and what it entailed for them to be the badasses that they are, and just bring us so much joy and just creative music and everything. So I want to just start by well, why don't you introduce yourselves and your involvement? Let's start with you first, Elizabeth, then we'll go to Yoruba.
So I'm Elizabeth Trozian, and I'm a producer on the film, and I'm the chief creative officer at Yap Films. We are a primarily feature-length documentary house based out of Toronto, but we're also a U.S. company. And we're just lucky enough to meet the super talented, amazing Yoruba Richin and partnered together to make this film with our two other beloved producers who are not with us right now, but Lacey Schwartz and Moret Manfredo, as well as Elliot Halpern. That's me.
Well, thank you. And Yoruba?
I am Yoruba Richin. I am the director of the film, based here in Brooklyn, New York. And that's who I am.
That's who she's being modest. She's being modest. She's an award-winning director that has won many, that's given us many credits. The Green Book, The Guide to Freedom, POV, Promised Land, independent films, and The New Black. So we appreciate you and your talent in this. So what I'm just kind of curious, what was the journey of really being attracted to this project? And you all, I mean, when I ask questions, you all can just jump in, whoever feels the need. But from two perspectives, one is director, one is producer. So
you start and how it started.
So I actually read a review of a book called How It Feels to Be Free: Black Women Entertainers in the Civil Rights Movement. By Ruth Feldstein. And I literally was one Sunday reading the Times, read the review. And as soon as I read the review, I was like, wow, this should be a movie. This should be a documentary. And I was totally taken by the fact that this book had put together these women in a way that as a cohort in different fields and different time periods, but really was looking at how they change the entertainment industry. So I reached out to the author and we met and we immediately hit it off. And that was the beginning. That was in 2015. And I knew Lacey and Moret. We were had been in a mentorship program for one of our films, our early films. And we had been talking about working together on something. And I brought it to their company, Truth Aid, and they immediately loved the idea. And we started developing it. And we started, developing the treatment and what the film could be. and went to PBS first, or actually Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, and they brought us to PBS and eventually to American Masters, to Michael Cantor, who's the head of American Masters and very excited about this project. So that was a couple year journey. And then we got some development money from both American Masters and from a PBS funder, ITVS, to do some initial interviews and create a trailer, a teaser. And then the long part, in which
oh, that wasn't the long part. Okay.
No, the long part, we were able to do that in a couple of years, maybe 2 years.
Wow.
And then the long part was trying to find the production funds. And we went to all of our usual suspects. We'd all made films before, and was not able to get the money. We just couldn't get the money. And at one point it felt like, okay, well, maybe this is going to have to, I'm going to have to put this to bed and, find something else. But it wasn't until the producers, Truth Aid, Lacey and Moret, met Elizabeth. And I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, Lacey and Moret and I met at American Film Showcase. And I was there with a film I had made called Mosquito, which is a natural history film about the mosquito and the global health crisis brought on by diseases spread by the mosquito. And I met Lacey and Moret there. They were with one of their other projects. I think it was called The Generation. And we just hit it off. It's like sometimes you just meet people and you like the way they tell stories and you like who they are and you want to do something. So we said, well, let's do something together. And Lacey sent me the treatment and the trailer that they had put together for How It Feels. And I immediately just fell in love with the project. And I said, yeah, we have to make this. And I'm, lucky that being based in Toronto in Canada, we have a lot of support from the federal government, and we get incredible tax credits and subsidies. And as well, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the CBC, which is the Canadian equivalent to PBS, came on board as well. And so we could build the rest of the budget. We could get the production budget cobbled together with all the amazing work the women had already done and the additional funds that we could gather here. And so, together we did it, and we put together the money, and we were lucky enough to start. Except
it amazes me when you said the hard part. I mean, it seems like just the subject matter, the women that you're spotlighting, telling their story. It seemed like that's a no-brainer. But I get it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we all thought that.
I thought documentary is never a no-brainer, but I did think that because these women were well known generally, that the archive footage was going to be amazing. People could see that it wouldn't be so tough to get it funded. And I will just add, this was before the racial reckoning of 2020, and it'd be interesting to see, if yeah, it's like be a measure of how much has actually changed.
Yes,
if we could, get the funding post the record.
Right.
Yeah.
But interesting to think about.
So how did Alicia Keys come aboard as executive producer? Did somebody know her to bring her on? Has she heard about the project?
So I part of my funding and support was from a organization called Chicken and Egg, which supports women filmmakers, and I was one of their awardees in 2016, and this was an unrestricted grant and mentorship support for mid-career filmmakers.
Mhm.
And the head of the Chicken and Egg, a woman named Jenny Wolfson, knew Alicia Keys' producer, and she thought that I should meet her, and that this could potentially be something that she was interested in. And so I met her at Sundance that year. We hit it off. She was like, actually, we know this book and we're interested in it and looking for a way to do something with it. And so and then she brought it to Alicia Keys. And that's how that happened. And the producer, she's no longer with Alicia anymore, but she was an incredible advocate for the project. So that's how that happened.
So for me, when I look at it, there's so much rich footage and rich photos. I was just wondering, like, once you delve into like uncovering and really working on uncovering their struggles, their sacrifices, and their moral convictions on a personal and professional life level, I'm wondering, what did the project do for you all as the creative team, in making this series so immensely important, and bringing it to the forefront of the audience to educate, that speaks to but a larger audience? What did it do for you, like, personally, to be unveiling their lives and bringing it forward?
Well, I'll just jump in. For me, it was obviously a labor of love, because as I said, as soon as I read about this book, I knew I wanted to make it a film. And for a lot of reasons personally. I mean, one is I have a desire to uncover and to tell the stories of Black women entertainers who don't a lot of times don't necessarily get their due in terms of their their innovation and their effect on popular culture. I grew up with my mom was a playwright who was part of the Black arts movement. And so it comes from, it comes from an honest place, that desire. And also too, for me, I have been, through the years, frustrated, quite frankly, with a lot of the biopics that are done about African Americans in particular, that focuses on just their personal lives or the tragedy part of their lives, which, of course, can be part of the story too. But I was interested in looking at the impact of these women, and how their stories and their journeys affected what we're seeing today in terms of the discussion around diversity, the stories, the plethora of Black storytelling that we see, which was so minimal before, and really looking at how they changed the culture. So that is why I wanted to make the film, and that was, what it did for me personally.
What about you, Elizabeth?
For me, I knew the women individually, but what I loved about it was Yoruba's take on their connection and their wider impact. And again, as a woman filmmaker, I find that that's true also for women, that we are often not given credit for our intellectual abilities and our abilities to make change and to be groundbreakers and front runners. And that really spoke to me. That was the thing that grabbed me the most, is that these women were the forefront of change, of civil rights change in the United States and globally. And I thought that was so true and not talked about. And just as Yoruba said, it's often stories of poor love lives, or, childhoods that had a lot of struggle, and yes, those are important aspects, but I often find that women are not given enough intellectual credit. And I thought that this was an opportunity to correct that. And so, it really was the beautiful take that Yoruba had on the connection of these women and their impact on all of us.
So you said you knew them personally?
No, I think no.
Oh no, that's why I was like, I was like, wow, there's a lot of different eras there.
She's very accomplished, but I don't think she could time it.
Okay. So when it was done, before the premieres and all that, did you all have private screenings? Was it Cicely and Pam? Because those were the only two that were alive. Did you have private screenings, and what was their reactions after seeing?
Well, one thing that that is an important part of this story is that we ended up having to make most of the film during COVID.
Yes.
So
it
so
was quite the journey.
Yes.
That's right, 2020. Because you were okay.
Yeah. So March 2020 is when, or like April, right, is when we got all the funding in place.
Yeah.
Then we were told by American Masters that they wanted the film for January.
Yikes.
Premiere January 2021, MLK Day. So it ended up being a faster turnaround. And we had shot some of the film, but there was certainly, much more that needed to happen.
What did y'all do?
It was crazy. We had to get Yoruba up to Canada to work with the editors during COVID when the international border was shut.
Yeah, during the last week, what was I up there for like 3 weeks? But the first part of it, we were working remotely, which is, what we're doing now, and what I'm doing now in a bunch of films, and what filmmakers have been doing. And then for our final push, yes, it was Toronto quarantine. I had to quarantine
for 2 weeks
in order to work for 1 week.
So you flew when the airports were decimal, because I flew at that time.
Decimal. Yeah. But one of the things that it allowed me to do, because this is the other part of the question around what did it do for me personally, I had to figure out how to tell this story. I mean, we have these number of women in different time periods and in different fields, right? So it's a very structurally complex way, film, and how to tell that film, how to tell that, tell those stories. And so, and of course, everything's all a process of figuring, from the beginning of figuring that out. But by the time I got to Toronto and had those 2 weeks, I was able to sequester myself in the room and just focus on, how to tell, with my index cards, while communicating obviously with the editors and a screening and all that, but to figure out that process. So that was actually a very good creative process for me, being quarantined in Toronto.
So, I mean, and there was so much footage, just rich footage and films. I mean, was there just, did you have a development team researching all of that, where to get all that? How big was that team, and to bring all that together?
Yeah. Well, so the first part of it, before we connected with YAP, we had an archival person who got it started.
Excellent. I applaud them.
Yeah. But then, the bulk of it was done by this amazing archival archivist.
Erin Chisholm is a genius archivist, and Erin did an incredible job. And she worked really closely with our associate producer, Lola Waheed, and our artistic director, Arden Ray, and these women all just, worked collaboratively with Yoruba to just dive super deep into all kinds of archives that you've never even heard of, and really find things no one's ever seen before. That footage of Abby Lincoln being rather harshly interviewed by the jazz jazz critic at what was it called, Backbeat magazine, I think.
I'm forgetting the name, but the premier jazz magazine at the time.
It was, lost inside of the depths of CBC radio archives.
Wow.
How she ever found it, I mean,
we still don't know.
I have no idea how. So many times there were these incredible moments where, these women who are, integral part to the creative process.
So as director, as you're getting all this footage back, or you're getting all this footage back, what I mean, what? I mean, it's like, how did you said you have your index cards now, but how
But with
did
the
you
footage,
appraise it?
yeah, well, with the footage, I mean, we did have a team. So, we had, as Elizabeth mentioned, Arden Ray, who was going through that footage too and picking, and giving sort of string outs of the footage that she thought was the best. We had our editors too. I mean, we had 2 editors. We had Lola. So we had a team of people. Obviously, as director, I'm not going to be able to go through all of that by myself. But so we had a team that did that.
Yeah,
And
all documentaries are a team effort.
yeah.
Often producers and directors in particular, get the lion's share of the credit, and they deserve it. But it is really a team effort, and especially for this one, because as Yerba said, we had such a fast turnaround. We really had to be all hands on deck.
Yeah, I always find the back end story is so interesting because it's like, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes before we see it, in our living rooms, and it's a lot of drama, But now you can laugh at it now, and because you all have, I mean, this part of history. I mean, what you created is just so important. I mean, it just, like your children, it lives on. It lives on way past you. It speaks for you. Yes. And you didn't answer. So how did Cicely? I'm going back to that because I forgot.
Okay, yeah. So let me explain. Yeah. So we actually, the one person we were not able to interview was Cicely Tyson. And then of course she passed right after the film. Right after the film premiered. So we weren't able to interview her. We had interviewed Diane, but she had passed also.
I think we were like the last interview Diane Carroll ever gave.
Yeah.
So that was really amazing.
But did Cicely get a chance to see it?
I don't know. And because she also had her book. Remember, she had her book out like right before. Yeah.
But the one who was really involved was Alicia. Alicia Keys really did look at the cuts and give her thoughts, and we were really grateful to her and her contribution. So that was great.
So
and Pam, she was amazing.
So, I mean, that is wonderful. I'm glad that she was like really involved. A lot of times EPs don't get totally involved. So that's great. I'm wondering, so by now, the film is shown, it's garnered awards. You've gotten tremendous feedback and everything about the series. Is there one thing that that this series has proven to you all that you didn't imagine when you were working on it? I mean, just in terms of the magnitude or impact that it has brought to people.
I would say that I mean, I knew that it would be a film that people wanted to see, and that was just proven. That these kinds of stories are commercially viable, that people want to see it. These stories that have not been told before. So I guess that's really it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was a joy for me. I mean, I got to work with these 3 women that I just have grown to love so much, and the film is beautiful and impactful, and it makes you very proud. We got nominated for a Primetime Emmy. We have been nominated for an NAACP Image Award. So yeah, we've been nominated for some other awards, and it's just very satisfying,
and that's the kind of, I mean, I'm looking at your website and your background. You all you seem to be attracted to a certain type of film that speaks either social justice or has something to do with progress, just progressing this freaking world.
Well, I think for me, it is social justice, but it's also stories that have not been told before,
Mhm.
or have been told in a way that is, to me, is not the full story. So whether it's social justice, whether it's entertainment, whether it's investigative, all those, I'm attracted to all those things. You know, music, films, as long as you're understanding the story in a new way, or revealing something that hasn't been told, then you've got my interest. And I'm sorry, ladies, I am going to have to go.
No, that is fine. I appreciate your time. I was staying true to my 30 minutes, girl.
You're so
I
busy.
appreciate it. Elizabeth, you can, and I can, thank you so much. I just want to ask a little bit of some closing stuff, but
Yeah,
we appreciate you. Where can we find your works? Do you have a website you can give?
Facebook, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Insta. I need to update my website.
Okay.
So, but yeah, Facebook, I definitely post, and I have a film. It'll be out actually after you show, but it's premiering on Frontline in 2 weeks on February 15th. And it's about an unsolved civil rights murder in Natchez, Mississippi. And it'll be on Frontline February 15th. And then it's YouTube channel, and it's called American Reckoning.
Great.
I heard that title. I didn't know you were behind that. Ooh, okay. American Reckoning. We'll look out for that.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So, hey, Elizabeth, I just wanted to know before we wrap up, where can people continually see How It Feels to Be Free, and just tell us about Yap Films. Where can they find Yap Films? What you all are doing?
Sure. Well, How It Feels to Be Free is on PBS Online. So if you go to PBS, you can screen it through American Masters. And you can, I believe you can also buy a copy there, or you can reach out through yapfilms.com, and you can buy a DVD. And
you can buy the DVD on Yap Films.
Yeah, if you write to us.
Okay.
I don't think you can buy it. You have to write to us, and then we'll send it to you. But yeah, you can get it through us. And yeah, yapfilms.com is where you can find out all about the films we make. We make lots of films every year, probably 4 or 5 different films and TV series every year. And yeah, so that's where most of our stuff is. And we show, of course, on Discovery, PBS, Smithsonian Channel, Netflix. We're all over the place.
You gotta read the credits, people.
It's quite a spectrum.
Yes, so we appreciate this time we spent, and just being able to allow us to show the film again for our Women's History Month. And thank you
for putting on such an important.
Continue to do great work.
Thanks. You too.
All righty.